Brew Strong is brought to you by Blickman Engineering, home of the top-tier brewing stand. Visit them online at blickmanengineering.com.
It's time for the beer radio you've been looking for. This is the show that dispels myths, tackles the toughest topics, and makes no apologies for geeking out on beer. Hosted by two guys that drink before they think. Jamil and John Palmer. This is Brew Strong.
Hey, howdy, hey, my brewing brothers and sisters.
Greetings.
It's no longer greetings. Croutons.
Or crotons. No. Greetings, croutons.
Greetings, my scrotons. Oh, yeah, you can tell it's deep into the shows now when we're cracking open the Doppelbock and having a good old time.
Indeed. What do we got lined up today?
What we got lined up today is tasty. We're going to talk about trademarks and everything surrounding them. I mean, there's a lot of chatter about trademarks in the in the community from and a lot of it from. I don't want to say, well, maybe I do want to say, a lot of it from positions of idiocy, where there's a lot of people out there who believe that, they know what should or shouldn't be going on, oh, craft beer, nobody should be trademarking anything because it's all sharing and it's all, or well, everyone should be, very kumbaya and,
Who is making that argument? People are seriously making that argument?
Yeah. If you talk to anybody about trademark, then it's like, well, you're not, in the spirit of craft beer. Well, I'll tell you, perhaps 10, 20 years ago, it would have been true, but with the rapid proliferation of new breweries that are coming on, it's getting out of hand where, you'll be building your brand, you're trying to sell a product, right? And then, 10 new breweries come in and they start using the same name that you've been using for, 5 years or whatever. That's like, what do you do?
Yeah. Where you can you think you have a brand on tap at a restaurant or a bar and find out it's actually somebody else's beer that's being sold.
Yeah, exactly. And that becomes the problem. You go somewhere and you say, oh, I love that beer. Dick Snifter or whatever it might be. And
that's good.
Yeah, you think I should use that?
Trademark it.
Yeah, trademark that, man. And then you realize, you taste it and you're like, oh, something's wrong with it. This isn't, I wonder what happened to that brewery. This is crap. This Dick Snifter is not fresh. And so
they rarely are.
Well, they get that cheesy kind of character. So it becomes an issue then for the breweries, and also somebody else starts building their brand under Dick Snifter and the original Dick Snifter, and they start expanding their territories. Eventually they clash, and then it's like, well, it's like the whole Budvar thing. It's like, well, nah, you can't sell that beer here in our area under that name. You have to change the name to sell it here. That's why the whole trademark thing exists. It's like, look, I'm planning on building my business around this name. I don't want to be stopped from using that name as I grow my business. I trademark it, right? I'm trying to protect my interests so nobody can stop me. Not a lot of times. I think a lot of people who are not fully aware of how businesses run, they're thinking, "Oh, you're trademarking it because you want to stop anyone else from using it." I guess you could use it that way, but I think a lot of craft brewers are trademarking names so nobody stops them from using it. I know that's how we look at it. It's like, I don't want to stop anybody else from doing what they want to do. And if somebody has, something important in it and they want to, license it from me for nothing, we could talk about that. But I don't want to be putting effort into my building of interest in my brand, and then somebody come and tell me, you can't use that anymore. Sorry, we're using that.
Why didn't breweries care about it 20 years ago before the modern craft beer boom?
There weren't that many.
Well, but don't you have to plan as if there will be? Isn't that the whole point?
Exactly. So, one of the things we do, and I've mentioned this before, is we do a lot of clearance on our names that we use, and we make sure nobody else is using them. And then we go ahead and we call our attorney and have our names trademarked. The whole purpose is so somebody doesn't stop us later on from using that name. That's our goal. I don't want to get an ugly call somebody saying, dude, you can't use that. That's ours. Be like, oh, wow, I didn't bother to check. I didn't do a Google search. I, didn't, bother to, check the trademark office. I didn't, do any of that stuff. And now the effort I've put into that is lost.
Can't you just say, that's not very kumbaya of you?
That's exactly what the response is. These people is like who can't bother to search to see if a name is already in use. They're just like, well, come on, that isn't very, very fair. It's like, well, choose another name. When you're starting something, choose a frickin' name that's not in use. Yeah. Go there. Choose a name like Blickman Engineering, right?
Right.
Who could be using that right now? Seems to me that one's wide open for use. I think everybody should go ahead and use the name BlickmanEngineering.com.
So I think there is an accounting firm, Blickman, and Warner. But
I thought that was a pornography company.
I may have
porn studio.
Confused, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well,
it's money. Oh.
Right. Money and money shots. Well, I'll tell you what. You want a money shot for your brewing, you get yourself some Blickman brewing equipment. You get yourself some Blickman Engineering to applied to your brew day. Blickman Engineering, and I'll tell you that every time I hang out with those guys, I'm just amazed at their creativity and innovation in just coming up with new ways to improve your brew day, innovate your brew day, make your brewing process better. And
that's right.
Very amazing. Great group of folks, and if you ever get a chance, you're at the Homebrewers Conference or somewhere else, and you get a chance to meet the Blickman folks, do so. Engage them in conversation about what you do in your brew day, and you'll be surprised at the insights that they have, because they're all very interested in brewing. John Blickman, he brews, he knows, he uses this stuff. So check that brilliant guy out, and browse over to BlickmanEngineering.com and check out all that good stuff today. All right, let's see here. So, back to the subject at hand, we were talking trademarks. So, what I do, I bring in my good friend Brian, and he happens to be an attorney that knows everything about trademarks. So, there you go.
Well, thank you, Jamil. Everything might be a bit, everything, sure.
99%.
Sure.
99.9%.
I'll give you that.
All right. Well, there you go. Well, Brian, introduce yourself to everybody and give them your resume, so to speak, about trademarks. Tell them
credentials.
Your credentials.
I should have brought my diploma in here. I could have held it in front of the webcam or something. I used to be an aerospace engineer way back in the day. Went to law school, became an intellectual property attorney, spent a few years working at law firms, and since then have worked at a couple of companies here in the Bay Area. Right now I'm at a company in Fremont that makes phosphor for LED lighting. So if you have LED lights in the studio at some point, probably our stuff will be in there. And I've done patent and trademark both for quite some time.
Mm-hmm. I can't believe you didn't
You didn't bring us any phosphor. some free phosphor. I mean, come on.
Well, I think that John would be very interested in that from a material science standpoint, but I'm not sure if just having a pile of it on the table would get us very far in the show.
Aren't you supposed to ditch being an attorney if you're a beer guy? Like, I used to be an attorney, but now I run a brewery.
Yeah, that seems to be the career path, so maybe someday.
Just hasn't happened yet.
And, yet being the operative word. I'll be saying yet when I'm 75.
There you go. Yeah. What are you drinking from the bottle? What are you, like an animal?
Going for my Hefe, man. And yes, I am an animal.
Over there.
Tried to drink Jamil's Doppelbock straight out of the bottle.
Right. Come on, man.
Prevents Jamil from doing it.
There's other things I'll stick in that bottle.
It's the part of the show where everyone starts drinking out of the bottle.
It's got a nice narrow opening. It's perfect for me. All right, so Brian, tell us, what is a trademark? What is it? Something I can hold? Is it a concept? Is it what is a trademark? Give us a definition.
Trademark is intangible, so you can't hold it unless you print out that registration and cradle it in your arms. It's a word or symbol or picture or something that's uniquely identified with a good or a service that you sell. So the classic examples are Coca-Cola, the Golden Arches from McDonald's, the Nike swoosh, things like that we all see in day-to-day life.
Okay, so what's the difference between a trademark and a copyright?
Copyright is a right to a particular creative work, like a book or a movie or a CD, that stops somebody from actually outright copying a chunk or all of that. Right? So that stops somebody from taking your book down to a Xerox machine and scanning it all and then selling that. Right? A trademark has to do more with two things. Has to do with how you protect your brand, as you were saying earlier. It's something that you're going to invest money in this concept that you identify your goods or services with. And it's also consumer protection. And you alluded to that earlier, too, right? If I go to the store and I get Sierra Nevada Pale Ale, I expect a certain type of beer. I expect Sierra Nevada Pale Ale. If somebody else is selling beer at the store, it's called Sierra Nevada Pale Ale, and I pour it, and it's black, and it smells bad, and it's like something that the jet ski out back would be running on. That's it
doesn't run. I don't know if you knew that.
Well, I parked behind it, so I hope
have wheels at this point. So
it's a consumer protection thing from that standpoint, right? Consumer should get what the consumer expects to get.
Well, now you mentioned Sierra Nevada Pale Ale, and right off my LADAR is ringing. I'm thinking to myself, Sierra Nevada, it's a location, it's mountains. Pale Ale is generic term, so that's not trademarkable, is it? They can't trademark Sierra Nevada Pale Ale, can they? Or maybe the combination of words?
They can, and what you can do with that, Pale Ale is purely descriptive. And we'll get into this a little bit more detail later about the process. But
trademark the word brewery isn't really part of like Heretic Brewing Company.
Right.
The brewing company is not part of the trademark. Really, it's used in conjunction with the trademark, which is Heretic.
That's right. You'll file an application for that, and you'll get rejected on the grounds of brewing company being generic and descriptive.
And I can't trademark
and you have to disclaim that.
Yeah, you're just saying it's part of the used in conjunction with the trademark, not the thing you're trademarking.
Right. So to the extent that you're trying to trademark, say, Sierra Nevada Pale Ale, the trademarkability of that has to do with Sierra Nevada, because that's Spanish for snowy mountains, which don't necessarily have anything to do with beer.
Oh, well, and now, see, we're jumping ahead here, but so we're here in Martinez. If I tried to trademark Martinez Brewing Company, I'm pretty sure I couldn't, because it's the name of the town. It's not something I've created. It's not something unique. If another brewery were to form in Martinez, they could be Martinez Brewing Company as well.
Yeah, you're going to have an uphill battle in terms of registering Martinez Brewing Company for just those reasons. Right? Its brewing company is generic or descriptive. Martinez as the location is going to be descriptive. You can certainly use that name for your business. You don't have to have a trademark to use that name for the business. But you can't protect that in case, Bob from down the street decides to open up another Martinez Brewing Company. Now, over time, it can acquire what they call secondary meaning. It's an acquired characteristic where if it's the only brewing company in Martinez for a long period of time, and you
50
can show,
years you've been brewing in Martinez.
50, 5, 10, as long as you can show by some kind of evidence, and consumer surveys.
And you're known, across California as, well, that Martinez Brewing Company. It's like Russian River Brewing Company.
Yes. The problem is that that's an uphill battle to try to prove secondary meaning. And when you're a small brewer in particular, and you don't have a lot of money, you don't have a lot of time to deal with these kind of issues, it's a real uphill battle to go to an attorney, to go to a survey person, to gather the evidence you need to get to put in front of the trademark office and say, hey, this is a legitimate trademark that isn't just a descriptive name. So you're going to try not to do that to yourself.
And I think this is one of an excellent point you make is, as a small brewer, the costs associated with this. Why? I look at it as, and I'll answer a lot of my own questions on this because I've thought about this long and hard. Why spend the money to go through this whole process of trademarking? Because that costs money. It's not cheap. It's not free. Yeah. But what you're doing is saving yourself money in the long run. When you go and start using the name of a product that somebody else is already using, you're just heading for trouble. Or if you don't trademark it, you're heading for trouble as well. You're exposing yourself to losing what you've worked for as well, because my understanding, if I go ahead and come up with a name, nobody else has ever used it before. I've checked. I go ahead and start using it in my local area, and I'm selling at my pub or at my brewery tasting room, and then I'm selling to a few accounts around the area, and I'm selling around my town. I'm selling around Fairfield. And then I've been doing this, let's say, 20 years. And everybody in Fairfield and the surrounding area knows that that's my beer. Dick Slicker or whatever it is my beer.
I think it was the Dick Snifter.
Dick Snifter is my beer. And then, I've got
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Is that going to be like a rye?
Yeah. Rye with cheese.
Very yeasty.
And then...
Well,
somebody
don't
else,
you have this kind of same issue? I mean, you have Evil Twin,
right?
And isn't there an Evil Twin brewing company?
Yeah. Let me finish my point. Somebody else comes from the East Coast making Dick Snifter, and they're expanding rapidly, and then they start flooding the West Coast with Dick Snifter. They can use it everywhere except my little town where I've been selling it. If I can prove I've been selling it around that area, I got to be able to prove that, right?
Yeah,
that I had prior use in that area, and then they can't use it in that area. They should have Google searched my Dick Snifter award-winning beer.
Right, and this is why you want to register your trademark. And just briefly, everyone has seen the R in the circle. Everyone has seen the TM.
The rabble.
Exactly. So is that what it's actually called? I've been doing this for 20 years, and I've never actually bothered to figure out what that symbol on the ASCII symbol for that is called.
Rabble.
I call it the R in the circle. R in the circle means you've applied for and received a federal trademark registration. TM means you're just using the name and you believe that it's your trademark. It's called a common law trademark. Mm-hmm. The advantage of a federal registration is that you have a line in the sand. You've got a filing date. You can prove it. It's government record. It's a registered trademark that says right there on there, hey, first date in commerce was X date. First application date was Y date. You don't have to prove any of that. Mm-hmm. Okay? If you have a TM, in that situation you were talking about with using your mark for 20 years in Fairfield in a very local area, you have to prove that. Mm-hmm. And man, you do not want to have to prove that.
You have to prove first use. You have to prove that it was what area it was used in, and that it's commonly known in that area, that the consumer think, when they think of Dick Snifter, they think of your cheese rye beer.
Did you keep those records from 20 years ago? Nobody keeps those records.
Right.
You're 5 accountants on. Mm-hmm. Nobody is working at the company that was working there 20 years ago trying to find. It doesn't always sound like it's that big of a deal to find those kind of records. It can be a big deal to find records from 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I think with the advance of the internet and a lot of data being stored electronically, I think it might get easier. But again, why put yourself in that situation? And I want to emphasize the whole purpose of Trademark, again, not to screw somebody else, to give yourself protection. That's all you're looking for. It's like, I don't want you to stop me from just working hard and, doing my thing. It's like insurance. It's like, saying, here's what I'm working on. Let me do my thing, everybody. Let me work on this. You go ahead and pick whatever name you want and you work on that. And
don't harsh my work.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think a lot of the perception is if you file a trademark, you're not playing fair. It's like, well, I've chosen something that nobody else is using, and I want to work on that. Let me, and that's all you're doing. And so I think. So you want to register this, and there's a patent trademark office that handles the registration for this. Is that correct?
And I want to touch on that point you just made for a second, Jamil. Trademark is fundamentally defensive, right? Mm-hmm. You can't warehouse names, right? You have to get a registered trademark. You have to use it in commerce. Now you can file for something if you have a real intent to use it within 3 years. But that's a limited period of time.
Yep.
So you can't just go out and file trademarks for 500 things you think somebody might... it's not like cyber squatting. Right? You can't just go out and get like 500 web names.
People should not be able to do that. That's bullshit, too. That is horrible.
That's a different topic. But nonetheless, you can't... It's not allowable to go out. The trademark office is going to look at you funny and probably sanction you if you go out and try to get 500 trademarks for things you're not actually going to use. Right. You have to actually use it in commerce to be able to assert it against somebody else, which means by definition, it's a defensive right.
Have there been examples of people who have tried to do that, trademark 500 whatevers? I mean, it's 3 years, it's a short period of time, but it's enough to extort somebody.
Yeah, it's happened, but that was a long time ago when intent to use first started, and as I recall, there were some severe spankings back in the day, and people stopped doing that.
I mean, it really does seem, like people are trying to, there's always some bad trademarks and always some bad stuff that goes on in, in software and things like that, copyrights and patents. A lot of bad patents that get approved, and then,
And patents are different because patents can be more offensive. There's no requirement at law to actually practice your patent to be able to assert it against somebody.
With the concept,
right?
And then you use that concept. And in the software world, there was a lot of people trying to, if you used, there was one I worked in software for quite a while. There was one where they got a patent on using pictures along with words and sounds. And so they got a patent on that. So they wanted $1 from every piece of software in the world or in the United States that used pictures and text and sound.
We can talk patents for hours on end as well. Maybe that's that's for the software podcast, shit, I think.
But that's just insane to me. And so it seems to me in the trademark world, it's like, well, prove that you're using it, prove that you're serious about this, prove that nobody else has used this, and prove that there's a reason for this to exist. You're trying to avoid confusion in the marketplace. We're trying to protect the consumer.
Right.
We're not trying to screw people over. So I'm on board with this. Now, so kind of walk me through those first steps. I've come up with Dick Snifter, and now how do I go about finding out if anybody else has used it. How do I begin the registration process?
Certainly.
What do I do?
Skipper in the chat notes that he did a U.S. trademark search, and Dick Snifter, in point of fact, is available.
Yes.
Imagine that.
I bet you people are like jumping on that right now.
Jamil, you better at the break. You need to get on that because someone's going to file for an intent to use before the show is up. You know that's going to happen.
I know.
Except that's going to run afoul of something we'll talk about later on. So the first thing you want to do, like we were talking about before, Google, Bing, Yahoo, just do an internet search. If it's a logo, like a picture, just type in, hey, it's a tree with a halo over the top. Just type in that into Google
is so wonderful.
And hit images.
Yeah.
And see if there's, and you might say, oh, crap, there's
like
exactly my
hop
thing.
And grenade. Oh, yeah.
Are there trademark issues with a hop and a grenade?
There you go.
No, it's so easy to do, and really it's easiest from a pure business standpoint. Yeah, it sucks if the name that you had your heart set on is taken, but you want to know that as soon as possible before you have T-shirts and kegs and a DBA and TTB filings. You want to know all that out of the gate.
The names that I wanted for our brewery was taken. That's how I ended up with Heretic. I think I won. I think I came out with something so much better than I was thinking.
Have you said what was that original idea?
Oh God, no.
Okay.
So, but a lot of times it works out better for you in the long run. So don't be afraid of finding out that I think a lot of times people are like, I don't want to know if anybody else is using it. I'm just going to use it and just go, and they'll have to stop me.
Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah, just do a search and then figure out something else. There's English has the most words of any language in the world. There's 250,000 words available in the English language. You've got to be able to find something or make something up. Absolutely possible.
Exactly.
All right. Let's do this. Let's do a quick break, and when we come back, I want you to continue explaining those steps. The Google searches first, and then where do we go from there? Back after this.
When you hear Blickman Engineering, think innovation, passion, quality, and customer service. Blickman gear is designed by brewers to give you a sense of pride in your equipment. At Blickman, they know what makes brewing a pain and build gear that makes it fun. Like the intuitive beer gun, a completely different approach to filling bottles. The Therminator Wort Chiller, a new take on a plate chiller that's sized for flow, performance, and the high groundwater temps homebrewers face every day. The Brewmometer, a brilliant weldless thermometer design with brewing parameters right on the dial. The Autosparge, ultimate simplicity for preventing an overflow or running your mash tun dry. And much more, like the modular top-tier brewing stand, conical fermenters, and their Boilermaker brew pots. With more cutting-edge equipment coming soon, keep up with the latest from Blickman at blickmanengineering.com and stay on the cutting edge. Since the first time the Brewing Network microphones turned on, More Beer was behind it. More Beer sponsors the programming on the BN because, like you, they love brewing, and like the Brewing Network, they love sharing their knowledge. Morebeer.com isn't just a website to place your next equipment or ingredient order. Morebeer.com also gives you access to free beer information that will make you a better brewer. Go to morebeer.com and click into the Learning Center. You'll find podcasts, technical facts, video tutorials, and more, including access to The Buzz, More Beer's social network of more than 5,000 members. And some of them might even be crazier about beer than you are. Get over to morebeer.com today and take advantage of The Buzz, the forum, the Learning Center, and make sure you're signed up to receive the newest More Beer catalog. More Beer, bringing you absolutely everything for beer making.
Hey, my brewing brothers and sisters, this is Jamil Zainashev, and I love a bold, hoppy beer, one that spits resin in your face and makes you cry uncle. There are a lot of great hoppy beers out there, but at Heretic, we want to make something as bold, dank, and resiny as possible. We use hops at every chance we get, including multiple dry hop additions. The result is Heretic Evil Cousin. This light golden, 8% Imperial IPA has an easy malt character that helps take the edge off the massive bittering, but it takes a back seat to the in-your-face hop character. We make sure this beer finishes dry so the hops can jump out and slam you in the taste buds. If you can't get enough hoppy goodness, Evil Cousin is your cup of tea. Cheers.
That's it. I've had it. I am never putting hops in my beer again.
What? Why?
It's just too ridiculous. Insane prices, stupid contracts, high shipping costs, crappy selection.
Dude, you need Nico Brew.
Nico Brew will rock your f***ing face right the f*** off your f***ing skull. $5 shipping to all 50 states. Plus fantastic international rates get you low prices on Nico Brew's great selection of hops and more. Whether you're a home brewer, a pro brewer, or a homebrew shop owner, Nico Brew can get you the hops you need in increments big and small. Single orders, spot buys, or full contracts. And there's only one place to join the uber special secret elite bare bones club where you'll get the best deals anywhere.
Holy f***ing shit!
NicoBrew.com. NIKOBREW. Nico Brew, your bare bones buddy in the brewing business.
What does craft beer mean to you? Is it a delicious way to support your town's local brewer? Or perhaps it's the perfect beverage to pair with those delicious meals at your favorite restaurant and at home. Regardless of whether you're thinking of pints or pairings, pilsners or porters, craftbeer.com is the site where craft beer lovers come together to learn and share. Craftbeer.com is brought to you by the Brewers Association and celebrates the best of American craft beer and its brewers. Craftbeer.com is the best place to find craft beer events, recipes, great feature stories, the most up-to-date brewery listings, and resources for your next beer tasting or dinner, like style guidelines, pairing mats, and charts. Get the inside scoop on new beer releases and special events from today's craft beer insiders, and chime in to share your own knowledge, perfect pairings, road trips, recipes, and more. Craftbeer.com, celebrating the best of American beer.
All right, BN Army, it's trivia time. What's the only homebrew shop with over 1,000 recipe kits, $4.99 shipping on orders over $100, and is also home of the Wolf shirt? The one and only answer is Austin Homebrew Supply. For over 20 years, they've specialized in creating recipes such as the best-selling Texas Blonde Ale, Apocalypso, Hop Bomb 2.0, and Double Chocolate Stout. And they just recently unveiled their small grain kits that produce 1 gallon of beer. Visit AustinHomebrew.com to browse their extensive catalog of equipment and ingredients. They also have mini clone recipes of your favorite commercial beers. They're the exclusive retailer of BrewVent yeast fuel as well, Yeast Nutrient, and the all-new Bodybuilder. Follow Austin Homebrew Supply on Google Plus to participate in video hangouts on popular brewing topics. So visit AustinHomebrew.com today and make sure you sign up for their weekly email with news and specials. Austin Homebrew Supply, AustinHomebrew.com.
Learning to brew has never been so disgusting. This is Brew Strong.
All right, we're back. We're being disgusting here with my good friend Brian and our very soulful ginger in the studio, Scott.
Soulful?
Yes.
Would I grow a soul last night?
No,
what happened?
No, but it was hurting your feelings.
Oh yeah, you're right.
And my good dear friend, Mr. John Palmer. All right. So we're talking about the steps. First step. So Google search. Just do a Google search. And if it comes up, move on to something else.
Yes, that's the easiest, cheapest time to move on, is right at the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So your Google search, your Bing search comes up. No one has trademarked Dick Snifter yet. Great. So next thing you want to do is go to the website of the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. They are a wonderful resource. They're the people that will actually review your application and grant you a registration when it gets to be that time. But they have a great resource called TESS. So all you do, you go to uspto.gov or just search U.S. Trademark Office. You'll get there. Very easy to find the page with the electronic resources. TESS stands for Trademark Electronic Search System. It's the infinite creativity of the federal government. And unlike other websites of the federal government, this one actually works pretty reliably and is pretty easy to use. Click on test. It'll take you right to a search screen. And you can search it. By default, it'll search what they call combined word mark. So don't screw with that. Just leave it as it is. Type in the box for your mark, Dick Snifter, or whatever else you want to search. Hop grenade. And then click on search. And what you'll get is a list of marks that include those terms. Well, if you get like 5 hits for your potential brewery name, then that may not be necessarily a good thing for you. It may not be terrible. Mm-hmm. Now, what the Trademark Office does is they arrange goods in what are called classes. So every conceivable good or service you can sell, believe it or not, is arranged in one of these classes. Beer is what they call Class 32. So let's say you are dead set on a particular name for your brewery, and it's fine on Google. You search in the Trademark Office, and it comes up, registered trademark. Oh, crap, what do I do?
Like Heretic Brewing, or Heretic.
Yes.
There are video games.
Yes.
There's sunglasses. There's a clothing line. A number of things.
Right.
But
if it's a guy in Topeka who's running a cement mixing business, in whatever class that is, you're going to be able to get your registration.
Mm-hmm. And we are registered for Heretic for beer.
Exactly.
And spirits.
The thing with clothing you have to watch out for, as a quick aside, as I see you sitting here wearing your Heretic shirt, is that a lot of breweries sell T-shirts and glassware along with beer. So if that is going to be a potential big revenue stream for you, that may be something that's at risk if somebody has that mark for apparel. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But that's not going to be, once you get up and running, that's not going to be a giant chunk of your revenue anyway. Okay, so you've gotten through your search. You found no one has it in Class 32 for beer. No one has it on Google. No one's got a website cyber squatting that name. You're ready to go. Okay, you're going to be serious about this brewery name. You're filing your TTB paperwork. Don't file too soon, but don't file too late. If you think you might be starting a brewery someday, unless you're sitting down there with the TTB paperwork in your hand and you're filling it out, it's probably too soon to file your trademark application. If you are at that point, you've got a bona fide intent to use that trademark. You're filing your TTB papers. You're ready to get going.
For us, it was I checked to see if the URL was available, the domain name was available. I checked to see if the corporate name was available. I checked to see that the trademark was available, and then I went for all 3 at the same time.
Yeah.
So I started the trademark process. First you get your corporation in order, and then you file for your trademark, because it's in the entity that owns the trademark would be the corporation.
Yes.
And then domain name, that's cheap and easy, and do that right away as well.
So the next thing to do is to file. Now, filing is actually relatively cheap. Filing, if you do it yourself electronically, is $275. Mm-hmm. You use the pre-filled category of beer. You can make up your own category. That costs you $375. You're making beer. Use beer. Save yourself $100. File it. They call TEAS is what you'll click on the Trademark Office website. TEAS. It may be scandalous and immoral in and of itself. And then you go ahead and just fill out the forms, and you're okay. Now, it would take you, as someone that's never done it before, probably quite a while to do that. Option that you have is to hire an attorney to do that for you. Usually an experienced trademark attorney isn't going to cost you a whole lot, especially if they know you're a small business person and someone that might be with them for a while. It's not unusual to have someone do it for government fees plus, say, $100 or so. Mm-hmm. So, Jamil, you had an attorney do that for you. What was your thought process in hiring an attorney to file as opposed to doing it yourself?
One,
lazy.
I didn't. What?
Lazy?
No. Yeah, I've got more money than ability to do actually work. No. My initial thought was, well, I don't want to screw it up. I don't want to miss out on some small little, what seems insignificant to me, that is actually a critical, slight thing that could be important down the road. And very lucky for me, I ran into an attorney at a craft beer meeting, and she was just getting started out, and I was just getting started out, and she really knew her stuff. And I'm like, hey, wait a minute, this person knows what's going on. And I'm like, hey, I'll tell you what, I'll give you a shot. Help me with the trademark of Heretic, because I started with an online service that didn't really do dick for me other than fill out the form.
Yeah, don't use those.
Yeah, they're doing the opposite of what you want, or not. They're filling out the form.
They add no real value.
As do
you mean like a faceless corporate entity kind of internet service, or do you mean as a lawyer advertising online?
They all suck. If they're advertising online, they suck. All right. And so, they filled out the form probably with less mental capacity than I have at filling out the form. I would have done better. They're just doing a generic thing. So when some potential for confusion came up, I got a hold of, Candace Moon.
I've heard of her.
San Diego craft beer attorney. I talked to her about it. Free advice, just chatting. And she's like, no, you just need to, argue it this way and should be okay. And so I'm like, look, all right, I give you a shot. I'm thinking, no, this isn't going to work out, but I give her a shot. Did great. She, our trademark is good. No
and you know what Moscow was saying before about lawyers and brewers? We're pretty simpatico. Lawyers and brewers have a lot in common, and a lot of lawyers become brewers. At my first law firm where I worked, which shall go unnamed, even though they're out of business. And one of the partners there in San Jose represented a brewery in Sacramento. This is back in the 90s, and they paid in beer. So he just invoiced. They didn't even invoice them. On occasion, like 3 cases would magically appear back in the back office, and that was pretty cool.
As long as taxes were paid, that could be legal.
Neither company is still around, so probably it's. I guess I could say, but I'd probably rather not.
But I'll say, involving an attorney that understands trademark, understands what's going on, understands the beer business, was invaluable. Was worth every freaking penny. And again, she didn't charge a whole lot, like you're saying. It was like, it was hardly anything. And the ability to sleep at night was far worth the small amount of money that was involved.
And I say this not just because I'm an attorney, but because I think it's the right thing to do. You want to get somebody involved out of the gate.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And really, at the end of the day, any person with reasonable intelligence can fill out that application form.
Yes.
Where you really need an attorney is when you get a rejection. Here's what happens.
Exactly.
You file your application. It goes to the trademark office. Exactly.
Right.
Someone at the trademark office, what they call an examiner, is an attorney, a government employee that works at the office.
Somebody
they look
who
at
doesn't know what they're doing.
Exactly.
I mean, somebody who's confused. I mean, somebody who is just following the. No.
In fairness to the good examiners at the trademark office, and there are usually pretty good examiners.
There's good ones.
Their process is they do just what I suggested. You Google search.
Yeah.
You look at the trademark office database, and they come up with a yes or a no.
Right.
And if it's a yes, that's great. Just they'll send you an email within 3 to 6 months of filing, and if it's allowed, just follow their directions, and you're good.
And it takes frickin' forever, for one.
It's funny, is to me 3 to 6 months seems pretty short, but I live in this world, so I know. If you're trying to get a small business going,
right?
If you have deadlines and you're pouring concrete and stuff, 6 months is an eternity.
Yeah. Well, and so really, what the attorney does for you is argue your case for you, write up a response to the examiner saying, here is why there is no potential for confusion to the consumer in the marketplace. The consumer is not going to be confused between these. Let's say there's another Dick Snifter product, and it happens to be a fruit juice or something. There's Dick Snifter fruit juice, the beauty of rye and cheese in a juice, and then there's the Dick Snifter beer.
You're really selling that juice. That sounds good.
Right. And then your argument is, look, beer and juice are not sold side by side. They're in different categories in the store. It's, there's different logos. It's, there's a bunch of fruit on this one. There's a giant phallic-shaped piece of cheese on this one. The consumer's not going to be confused.
Exactly. So that's the two rejections you're going to get most often in craft beer. One of them is the same rejection you're going to get most often for any trademark in any industry, which is called likelihood of confusion. Mm-hmm. And this goes back to the idea that your trademark has to uniquely identify your goods and services, and also the consumer protection aspect. They don't want to have you trademark something that's really close to something else and have the consumer be confused. So this is where it's really hard sometimes for especially technical people who want a bright line to understand what likelihood of confusion is. A lot of times it comes down to how good of an argument you can make. Right? There's not necessarily a right answer. So let's just say, as a thought experiment, I have a new brewery and I want to make some beer and I'm going to call it Heretical Ale. Mm-hmm. Is there a likelihood of confusion between that and Heretic Brewing Company?
Yeah, I'd slap you into silly tomorrow. No.
But heretic is a noun and heretical is an adjective. Mm-hmm. And there's ale in there.
Right.
What about a concrete example where the word is different, but there's still high likelihood of confusion, like Hydrox versus Oreos? They don't sound similar, but the packaging is the same, the cookie's the same, easily to confuse them.
Well, that gets into more of a trade dress issue. So the name itself is very different. So you could trademark Hydrox for cookies. Mm-hmm. Now, whether the aspect you're talking about is they're making the packaging as similar as possible so as to confuse the customer, but that's what they call trade dress. Right? It might have the same type of plastic, the same colors, the same font. That's a little bit different issue.
It's like if I made a soda called Poopsie, and it was I used the blue and red and white, and it's like a circle with a swoosh through it.
I suspect it would taste better than Pepsi.
Well, yes. It could taste like poop. I don't know. Getting back to the heretical versus heretic, if somebody had a heretical brewery and they'd been going for years, and what I'd do is just go ahead and give them a license to use a heretical, and but if somebody's starting out and they're thinking, I'm going to capitalize on their success, I'd be like, screw you. Yeah. Go choose another name. You're just starting. Find something that nobody else is using. Go that way.
These are the kind of things that will come up during examination. Right? As we were talking about before, for example, juice with the same name, and then you simply argue, hey, it's a different class. There's no likelihood of confusion. No, but it's funny. A lot of the factors, if it's different beer trademarks, there's factors like, well, how similar is the mark? What are the channels of commerce? Well, beer is all sold via either self-distributed or via distributors, all in the same channels of commerce. There's questions about, is the consumer sophisticated? If you're selling business to business, let's say you're Caterpillar and you're selling bulldozers, and they cost $200,000, you presume the customer is sophisticated because the goods are really expensive, and you're selling to a purchasing person at a big, road company or something.
And I'm thinking it's a video game or a candy bar.
If the other end of that, there's really only two real levels of sophistication by consumers. One is the professional, high dollar, hey, it's business to business, I'm buying a business thing. The other is just the regular American
consumer.
Seeing
it on the shelf.
Yeah, and the trademark office presumes, rightly or not, the average American consumer is a complete idiot that probably can read, maybe maybe has like a 6th grade education, and they, especially for something like a 6-pack of beer, which is under $20, goods that are easily on a shelf. You might walk by and grab one by mistake. You're never going to win on sophistication of consumer at the trademark office when it comes to this industry, just because of the way that it operates.
Well, and the interesting thing is because I think the craft beer consumer is much more educated, much more sophisticated, and much more able to discern the difference between the products. Yet, I think that the USPTO is really just now realizing that, they're still somewhat mired in the concept that beer is the dim-witted, blue-collar, product of choice. It's like if you're drinking beer, you're really not that smart, so you're going to be confused. We need to protect you, type of thing.
I don't disagree with a single bit of that.
Although I think I think they're starting to come along, and I would guarantee there's people working at the USPTO that homebrew and love craft beer.
Oh, yeah.
And so, it's like any large entity that, the government that is, trying to modernize. They're like, well, wait a minute. Yeah, there's not going to be a confusion here. People realize that. I think that's coming along, but again, I think, we struggle against beer as a very base product.
Yeah, I don't disagree with any of that. So let's say we go through all this stuff. We've had no likelihood of confusion. We're in the trademark office. No mark even remotely like Dick Snifter, because really, why would there be?
Hey, that's a quality brand. I've got dicksnifter.com already.
So yeah, that was during the break, I believe.
Yes.
So you still get a rejection. So what's up with that? That's the number 2. And this is what happens a lot in the craft beer industry.
Number 2 happens a lot.
That's the morning after.
It's really,
but
number 1.
Yeah, that happens a lot the day up. So there's a grounds of rejection for scandalous and immoral subject matter. Okay, and sadly, Dick Snifter may well run afoul of that. And
Dick is the name of a person.
Yes, and that's the argument you make.
Is the name of a glass.
That's the argument you make. But let's
Dick's
as an example
Snifter. If I add the S in there.
Oh, okay.
Dick's
allowed.
Snifter. Yes, exactly.
You have a picture of the snifter on the label.
Picture of Dick.
Exactly. A nice, sort of distinguished older gentleman.
Yes.
Who, like Mr. Rogers, but his name is Dick. And he's holding a snifter of some wonderful barley wine.
Exactly. Now you understand.
So what happens, though, is in craft beer, people want to be edgy. And that's cool. It's marketing, right? People want to do something. They want to push the envelope. They want to get attention. So you get things like, for example, the Velvet Merkin. I love that beer. It has a wonderful, wonderful oatmeal stout.
Great name, too.
Great name. Apparently, as most of America learned...
like a fake bush.
Yeah, it's like a pubic hair wig. I had no idea in the medieval times they would have such a thing. Where they would, I guess, have some need.
Times? I'm wearing one right now.
That's your own business, dude.
Hey, when you've got alopecia of the crotch, you need to make up for it.
Is it time for Jay-Z's Medical Corner right now? I thought that was a different show that was going on.
Yes.
So sadly, what happened is someone at the trademark office did a Google search for Merkin and realized, oh yes, that is a medieval pubic hair wig thing.
So why is that vulgar?
It's such a subjective thing.
Yeah.
Right? It's why is, for example, arrogant bastard not vulgar? And it depends on who's examining. It depends on the culture at the time.
Well, bastard is acceptable in conversation on the radio, things like that.
Well, exactly. But that changes over time. And here's an example that's current from the news. Washington Redskins. That was an allowable trademark.
Nowadays.
Yeah,
right.
That was totally uncontroversial and acceptable 50 years ago. Today, it's so offensive that they're having high-level NFL talks about making him change that name. And I think if people have repeatedly over the years moved for cancellation of that trademark, and I think if they did it again, they'd probably get it.
They would not get it because, You mean as far as cancellation?
Well,
if you applied for the trademark today, it would be, it
would get rejected for being scandalous and immoral.
Yep. And Merkin, I mean, come on, is that really scandalous and immoral?
Now, I think it's silly myself.
Well, chastity belt. Oh my God! Would that be immoral and scandalous? I think it's very similar in a lot of ways. I mean, how boy, we're such a Puritan type of very.
There is a PC
society.
culture, and the reality is though,
it's not even PC. I mean, Merkin, there's no PC problem there. I mean, it's just people titillated by the fact that, oh my God, somebody had fake pubic hair.
But that's where it comes down to. If you're going to be edgy, if you're going to have some kind of brand name that might conceivably have something to do with sex or drugs or
sex, well,
you need to have a
fake
backup
pubic
plan.
Hair has nothing to do with sex.
Well, here's Lagunitas Chronic.
Mm-hmm.
Right. They had to change their name to Censored. They had a cancellation proceeding because some, I'm sure, kindly 70-year-old gentleman at the trademark office saw the application for Chronic. Oh, nothing wrong with this, allowed, and sent it along. And later on, someone realized, oh, crap, that means weed. So there was a cancellation proceeding, and it was scandalous and immoral because it had a weed reference.
It's so silly, though. It's only a weed reference if you decide it is. The word chronic can refer to an illness.
I'm not saying it's not silly. I'm just saying that's the kind of... It's where it comes down to what arguments you make and how persuasive you are. And whether the judge or the examiner or whoever,
an attorney,
on
your side,
or a radio host,
I agree.
Right. Or and it's just how much do we really need to protect the American populace?
Well, think of the children, Jamil.
Oh yes, my kids scarred by that whole Chronic thing. I think.
Anyway, let's go watch the Redskins game.
All right.
Let's take a short break. When we come back, I think the show's going to run extra long. If you're slamming it on a DVD, on a CD, you need a couple. I think so. Just be prepared. Back after this.
Hi, I'm Jason Harris, the proud owner here at Keystone Homebrew Supply. We're thrilled to be entering our 20th year of supplying this great industry, and to show you, the Brewing Network Army, how much we appreciate your support, we're offering you 10% off your first order on our website, KeystoneHomebrew.com. Just use coupon code BNARMY at checkout, and I'll get your order out the same day. My goal at Keystone Homebrew Supply has always been to have a complete supply of everything a brewer could want. When you place your order online or when you come into our store, it's our goal to have everything on your list and more. One aspect of KeystoneHomebrew.com that we're really excited about is the ability to fulfill customers' exact grain bills. Do you hate to wait? Keystone Homebrew Supply can get your precious yeast and hops to you within just one day if you live between Connecticut and Virginia, and within 2 days east of the Mississippi. KeystoneHomebrew.com. Coupon code BNARMY. I'm Jason Harris, and I approve this message.
Tin, Getting tired of that same old handcrafted beverages day after day? Are you looking for something with more diversity than your normal beer? Fellow BN Army member Michael Fairbrother, owner of Moonlight Meadery, is reviving an entire beverage category. Mead!
The meads at Moonlight Meadery are all handcrafted from the finest honey on the market and are perfect for any occasion, like weddings, baby showers, or...
Excuse me? Mead is not your average girly drink, mister, and Moonlight Meads can be enjoyed anytime, anywhere. Football games with the guys.
Yeah.
Barbecues with the guys.
Yeah.
Operating power tools with the guys.
Yeah.
Actually, sir, that's really dangerous.
Good point, son.
Next time you have something to celebrate or are just looking for a new tasting experience, pick up a bottle of mead from Moonlight Meadery. Now in 21 states, making over 60 varieties of mead from dry, semi-sweet to sweet.
Break out of that craft beer lull. Grab a bottle of Moonlight Mead. Can't find some? Then ask. No, make that demand some.
Yeah!
Tonight is the night.
We bring the creature to life, Dr. Blickmanstein?
Yes, J.P. Law. Everything is perfect for my next fermented creation.
My doctor, the storm is too far away. We'll never have enough power to isomerize the creature's alpha acid.
yes, JP Gore, we will, for I have in my possession the Tower of Power!
Blickman's new Tower of Power is the evolution of automation. Control hot liquor, sparge, and mash temps like a pro. The Tower of Power is a high-quality gas-fired rim system that works with your current brewing setup. With ultra-precision, the tower can hold your mash to 1/2 of a degree Fahrenheit. Precision and repeatability. The Tower of Power is the answer to automatic, fast ramp times. See more at BlickmanEngineering.com. Bring your next creation to life with the Tower of Power.
Dr. Blickmanstein, with the Tower of Power, you can probably give me an afternoon at the pub to enjoy a pint.
Don't be silly, JP Gore. We have beer to brew.
Are you a member of the American Homebrewers Association? Well, you should be. Members of the AHA can focus on brewing beer, and the AHA takes care of the rest. The American Homebrewers Association advocates on behalf of homebrewers like you to legalize the hobby in all 50 states and make sure that beer laws make sense. Plus, there are many great benefits that come with your AHA membership, like AHA member deals that give you awesome deals at bars, restaurants, breweries, and more. Zymergy Magazine and Zymergy for tons of articles, how-tos, easy-to-follow recipes, and news about the hobby you love, and access to the members-only content on homebrewersassociation.org. But the AHA can't do it without your support. Join today so the American Homebrewers Association can keep fighting for your homebrewing rights. Visit homebrewersassociation.org or join now from the homepage of the Brewing Network website. Relax. Don't worry. It's the American Homebrewers Association. A vial of White Labs yeast is the key to your best beer. When you open a vial of White Labs yeast, you're giving your beer its best chance for a perfect fermentation. In addition to their already incredible variety of yeasts, White Labs is proud to announce WLP 90, San Diego's super yeast, now available year-round. WLP 90 is super clean, super fast fermenting, with low esters and has a neutral flavor and aroma profile. It's alcohol tolerant and highly flocculent. For more of the latest White Labs news, click over to whitelabs.com, where you can read reviews of yeast, learn in the lab section, and join the customer club. And if you should find yourself in San Diego, White Labs has a brand new training facility for craft brewers and home brewers alike. Whitelabs.com. Discover yeast, nutrients, enzymes, and more for commercial breweries, home brewers, and homebrew stores. White Labs. It's all in the vial.
Hi, I'm Jamil Zainasheff, and in addition to my work on the Brewing Network, I write the Style Profile column in every issue of Brew Your Own magazine.
Hi, I'm Sean Paxton, and when I'm not prepping for the Homebrewed Chef on the Brewing Network, you can find me writing articles on how to cook with your home brew for Brew Your Own magazine.
Greetings, cretins. This is John Palmer, and when I'm not writing for Brew Your Own, I'm reading it.
John Palmer, Sean Paxton, Jamil Zainasheff. If you love listening to them on the Brewing Network, you'll love reading their articles, tips, and recipes in the pages of Brew Your Own magazine. Join Jamil, John, and Sean 8 times a year in Brew Your Own. And when you subscribe to BYO on the Brewing Network website, half of your subscription price goes right back to the BN to support great beer and food programming. So sign up for Brew Your Own magazine through the BN website today so you can listen and read your way to better homebrew.
Back to your hosts, Jamil Zainasheff and John Palmer. Putting the testicles in technical. This is Brew Strong.
All right, let's get back to the case of the Dick Snifter.
All right, so we've gotten a registration for the Dick Snifter. Against all odds, good lawyering and a good argument, and
we had
tasty
to
rye
to
cheese
Dick's
beer.
Snifter.
Yes. You may have had to maybe modify things a little bit. Maybe had to add the glass. I don't know, but you've got the Dick Snifter registration. So you're living large. You're shipping hundreds of thousands of cases of Dick Snifter all over the U.S. and the world. And as a brief aside, trademarks are good in the country you apply for them. So your registration in the U.S. covers the U.S.
Right.
So somebody in Vancouver is making that Canadian Dick Snifter. You can't do a damn thing about it. You have to apply there as well. So if you plan as a craft brewer to distribute internationally, and some people do, there are some advantages to doing that. Jamil, I know you do that as well. There's some advantages to trying to get some trademark protection in some other countries as well. So you're shipping lots of cases, you're just rolling in the cash, and somebody sends you a letter, or you receive a letter. And you get that, and the nasty gram has the usual contents of, hey, I've got a mark just like that, or your mark.
Or you find somebody is, you do one of these Google searches, and it's like, wow, there's like 10 other Dick Snifters or Dick Snifters. Yes,
exactly. So it's possible you're going to end up as a plaintiff, which is the party who says, hey, you're infringing my trademark, or as a defendant, where you find, despite your best efforts, and this can happen, despite your best efforts and despite trademark office searching, there may be someone who has a very similar mark, the dock snifter. I'm not referring to the dock, but maybe a dock in the water, or something. There's a picture of a dock. It's very peaceful. And they send you a letter, or they give you a phone call. So, all disputes are different.
Because the USPTO does not guarantee that nobody else is using something similar and there won't be an element of confusion.
No.
It's really up to you as the trademark holder to be vigilant as to infringements upon your trademark and to enforce your trademark.
That's right. And it's, in fairness to the trademark office, it's not possible to prove a negative. Right? And what you're trying to do is prove a negative that no one else is using that. Right. You can never really prove that.
They're just a registry.
Right. They're human beings, and it's a registry, and no matter how hard and how much in good faith everyone works, things get by sometimes.
Yeah, and the only advantage you have is saying, well, I am registered. That doesn't necessarily resolve everything, but it's a very powerful tool in proving your ability to use that mark.
That's correct. And one other very important thing to keep in mind, when you have a registered trademark, that lets you sue, or I guess be sued, lets you sue in federal court. You don't have to prove, like you would if you had, say, a TM, a non-registered trademark. You sue in state court. That judgment's only good in that state. You have to prove all those things. Oh, I used it beginning on this date. Oh, this is, all this stuff you don't have to prove anymore because you applied for a federal trademark registration. For the $300 it costs, and all the other costs of starting a brewery and running a brewery, it's really worthwhile for your brewery name.
The cost of brewing a batch of beer, unless you're doing nano brewing and brewing a homebrew batch of beer, it's negligible as far as the cost of brewing beer. Now,
that's right.
But you mentioned the advantage of being able to sue in federal court, and do you really want to do that? Is that your? I mean, do you just go out and nail somebody to the wall, and
you do not want to begin. And it's a dick move, and it's also not productive from a business standpoint.
That's your last hope. Your last move is to actually sue somebody, right? Don't you? You start out. How would you recommend people start out with this sort of thing?
So typically how this happens, and how it should happen if you're the trademark holder, just call up. And this has happened. I don't know how many times. Pick up the phone and call the head brewer at the other brewery. The head brewer probably is the owner or knows the owner.
I've done this a few times.
Yeah,
where our attorney actually lets us know when something comes up. Says, "Oh, there's a brewery. They're brewing a Heretic IPA." It's like, oh, I hate these calls.
Because they didn't check.
Right. They didn't bother checking. And I hate these calls because I don't want to tell somebody not to do something. I just want to make beer. I like to sit on my couch. I like to watch football.
I like those things too.
Yes. But then they'll give me the information, and our attorney's like, if you want me to, I'll call him. I'm like, no. And then our attorney's like, you really want to call him yourself. You don't want me calling him.
No, that's really good advice, because the second you get the lawyer involved,
people get all funky.
Yeah, people get funky. If the walls go up, it escalates way beyond where it should early on.
If somebody won't talk to me and won't be fair, then I'm going to let the attorney slap them into the ground.
Yes.
But, what I do is I call them up and I go, hey, this is Jamil, calling from a Heretic Brewing Company.
Ever heard of us?
I noticed that you're starting to sell this Heretic IPA. For us, Heretic is the core of our brand and our brand recognition. Is that something important to you too? And most of the time they go, no, not at all. We just came up with a name. I'm like, if you don't mind, could you choose another name for that?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh yeah, who cares?
90% of the time,
yeah,
95% of the time, whether you're getting that phone call or making that phone call, it's an innocent mistake. And people are happy to kind of do brewer's code and say, you know what, that's cool. How can we work this out? You'll work it out.
Yeah, the thing is, the people getting the call, you shouldn't be freaking out that somebody's calling you and trying to work it out with you.
Right.
And some people get a little indignant and they're like, well, all right, if you insist on using that for yourself. It's like, yeah, I pretty much built my entire company around that.
Well, here's what people. It's a small business, and people don't understand in small business a lot of the time that it's business, and they take these things super personally. And maybe they're in the wrong, but they wrapped up a whole bunch of themselves and invested a lot of heart and soul in a particular thing, without, and then they can't do it, and suddenly it's a personal affront. And the thing to keep in mind is it's not personal. It's business. You have to make the business calculations in this. Someone calls you about a seasonal beer that you sell, 15 kegs of a year. Are you really going to have a dispute over something that gives you, $10K of revenue? Or for another example,
I contacted like a home brewer who was doing a nano and actually hadn't brewed any beer yet, and had just put it on their website that they were planning on brewing this beer, and they got a little miffed. I'm like, well, dude, you haven't even brewed the beer yet.
You did him a favor.
You put it on your website, yeah. Well, and that's the thing. And people get a little bent out of shape that you're contacting them. You have to. If you have a trademark, if you do not enforce your trademark, and enforcement is not suing people, enforcement's not denying people the use necessarily. Enforcement is straightening things out with everybody else who's trying to use something that is confusing to the consumer.
Yes.
That is your enforcement. If you don't do that, you lose your trademark, or you could possibly lose your trademark in court. Somebody, if I didn't follow up with people who are trying to use Heretic in beer and say, hey, is that important to you? And they're like, no big deal. I really don't care. We're just trying to come up with a random name. I'll come up with something else. If I didn't do that, and I let these, 20, 30 little brew pubs start to sell a Heretic beer, Anheuser-Busch, not that they would, but, if they should decide they wanted to do a Heretic beer, and then say, sorry, your trademark's invalid because look at all these other places
That's exactly right. And that's the most galling,
just,
is when someone that suddenly takes your brand name and it blows up for them, and they argue, oh, no, it's this should belong to us because this other person who owned it first didn't enforce it.
Right.
They didn't use it as a trademark.
We've made more of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're doing more with it, and they never contacted us.
Right. So you want to, but the key principle here is you don't need to sue out of the gate. You don't want to sue out of the gate. You want to call people.
Yeah.
Next step,
work it out.
You send the nasty gram.
There's the kumbaya is just calling and talking.
Yes, that's
the kumbaya.
Correct. And that's, most of the time, most brewers are willing to make a course change. Sometimes they aren't. Then that's when you start having to have your lawyer send a letter.
Right.
People aren't used to getting letters from lawyers.
Mm-hmm.
You get a letter from a lawyer, and you're threatening some things. That gets people's attention.
Mm-hmm.
As a plaintiff, that's good. As a defendant, the thing to keep in mind, you don't especially if you get a letter the first thing, if nobody's bothered to call you, and this is the dick move, never just send a letter. Call somebody. We were just talking about. So you get a letter in the mail. Hey, I have this mark, and I think you're confusing. Don't respond to the lawyer first. Respond to the actual brewer. Respond to the owner of the company.
Even if
have
you
that
get
talk.
A contact from an attorney.
Yeah, you don't have, just because they ask you for, you need to tell us, what was your yearly sales volume last year? What is your inventory? You don't need to respond to any of that.
Well, I don't know if I can say this story or not. I think I can.
I'm not your attorney, so go ahead.
I don't want to get anyone in trouble. No, I think it's okay.
We'll cut it out in post.
Okay, all right. So this is
that
just
always
between
happens.
the three of us. All right.
No one's listening.
Nebraska Brewing, they came out with a Menage a Trois beer that was aged in Chardonnay barrels. A fantastic beer. It got a silver at GABF one year, and I think it's just brilliant. And there was a winery that had a Menage a Trois, like Chardonnay wine.
That's good wine. I've had that.
I could see that as, perhaps confusing, because it was in a champagne bottle that they were doing.
Right.
And, it mentioned Chardonnay on the label. I could kind of see that. And so, the big winery is like, well, here's our attorney, have our attorney send it, because they don't have people to do that. It's like, are you going to have, Steve in accounting send it to them, or, you have the attorney do it when you're that big.
Right.
But they sent it, and they're like, well, here's the thing, and I think Nebraska, they get their attorney involved, and then, attorney fees just ratchet up. I mean,
oh, yeah.
Your attorney has to do work. They should get paid for that. A lot of times people get kind of freaked out that attorneys should get paid writing letters and talking on the phone, but that's what they get paid for, that, and so, you're running out of money doing this, and you're just screwing both companies by, ratcheting up fees. It's not the fault of the attorneys. They're being told to do this.
Yeah. When probably a label change.
Trying to feed their kids.
Yeah.
And so, Paul, the owner of, the head of, part of Nebraska, he's like, I'll just call him.
It's a good idea.
Called him, and he's like, hey, let's just work something out. So they worked out a deal where he's like, look, I'll send you some beer, and we'll change the name slightly, and everybody will be happy, right? And sure enough, done deal. They're all squared away. So a lot of times, just talking and not talking from a place where you feel like you're being screwed, but a place where you feel like, all right, let's just work it out and figure out something where everybody's happy. And I think that's most people holding a trademark, the vast majority of trademark attorneys are looking at, let's just work something out where everybody's happy, the consumer's not confused, you're not treading our brand or trying to leech off of our brand, or you're not trying to crush us. Let's all just get along happy. There's the kumbaya, is just everybody talking.
Let's just conduct business. And that's, when you start talking about litigation, I had a similar story from the first company I worked at in the Bay Area, where we had a trademark dispute with a company in Minnesota. I handled it all myself. I was an employee of the company. It didn't cost the company anything more than my usual salary. The other side had outside counsel. They probably spent $25,000 on something we eventually resolved with a couple of phone calls that we were happy to make a very minor change to a couple of things. Most of the time, because you start talking about lawsuits, sometimes you have to go to the point of filing a complaint.
Sure.
Nobody likes to do it.
Right.
Sometimes when you prepare the complaint, you file it, you serve it on somebody, that really gets their attention. Maybe they weren't willing to talk to you a lot before. Just to sit down at the table for a lawsuit is going to cost you $25,000, $30,000. Right. And that right there is probably, especially for like a specialty or a seasonal beer, that's your, I got to believe that's got to be your profit, or greatly more than your profit for a lot of those beers.
I've got Jay-Z's money-saving corner for you here.
Bust that out. I want to hear about Jay-Z's money-saving corner.
One thing, or cost the other guy money corner. one thing I learned early on was you can call somebody up no matter what, whether you're trying to get out of debt, when you're trying to deal with the government, when you're trying to deal with somebody else, and they're threatening you with a lawsuit. You call them up and you say, "Hi, I'm representing, Dick Snifter Products, and I want to talk to you about, whatever." It could be just you and your nano brewery, and by saying you're representing, they assume that you're their attorney. Right? You have not said you're their attorney.
As long as you're not making a material misstatement of fact,
right.
which you're not.
You are
you're
representing.
Okay.
If you're the sole owner, proprietor, whatever, I'm representing Dick Snifter.
Yeah.
And everyone immediately assumes they're talking to some attorney somewhere. And they change their tune immediately. They say, all of a sudden they're willing to deal. They're thinking, okay, and if you want to do like a 10 cents on the dollar, you want to do whatever it is, and if you're dealing with a law firm on the other end that's billing by the hour, which they have every right to do.
Right.
I mean, really, they're doing their work, and that's what you pay for. But you can keep calling them, and you can keep racking up the hours on the other end. You can really make the other side see where it's worth, negotiating with you and not playing hardball. So you don't necessarily need an attorney. I recommend one because they actually have the experience to resolve things much more quickly. If you get the right one, these giant law firms, bad move.
Yes,
I think
they will cost you a fortune.
Get the sole proprietor or person working in a small 2-3 person office. That's what you want. Those people understand small business, let's resolve this efficiently in the best interests of everyone involved at the lowest cost, the least billable hours. Let's just get this done. And often they'll just lead off with,
and finding a lawyer is so difficult because people aren't used. It's like finding a contractor, right? Mm-hmm. You're not used to working with folks. You don't even know where to start.
There's contractors that will screw you.
Oh yeah,
they're looking for maximum billable hours.
Yep.
And then there's contractors just like, look, buddy, you don't want to do that.
Right.
Here's your best bet. And there's attorneys that will do that too. There's lots of great attorneys.
So the thing is just to ask around, right? Yes. Find someone who you know and respect who's used someone. Yep. Say, hey, who do you recommend? Don't call the first bus bench phone number you see or just call someone out of the yellow pages. It's easy to find a referral, find your buddy or someone you've heard of, and just ask. And people are happy to share that information.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. All right. Speaking of sharing information, I don't know, Brian, are you an AHA member?
I am an AHA member. I've been for almost 20 years.
Wow.
Perhaps more than 20 years.
Wow. That's I happen to be a lifetime member. I don't know.
I'm not sure how much lifetime I've got left, so I always kind of make that calculation when I'm going to send that check.
You're probably going to do better than I will. I don't think I'm going to collect on that. But, the AHA, it's worth being a member for 20-some-odd years. You have helped fund the legalization of homebrew in 50 states. You've helped fund, the interest in homebrewing. You've helped fund a lot of information for homebrewers. You've helped fund the Zymergy magazine, the AHA rallies, the Teach a Friend a Homebrew Day, the Mead Day, a lot of
it's all great stuff.
Things.
You've helped Gary Glass buy Bic razors for his head.
Right. Keep that head shaved.
It's shiny.
Right. He keeps that thing polished like a cue ball. No. Gary is wonderful. Why are we hacking on Gary?
You started it.
I didn't start it. It was the soulful ginger over here.
I love Gary. No, we did because we love.
And he has a great sense of humor. I think it's a great organization worth supporting. And so if you have the time, if you have the wherewithal, I suggest going to thebrewingnetwork.com, clicking on that AHA logo, signing up. A little slice goes back to the Brewing Network, so you help support shows like this, and you help support an organization that's looking out for homebrewers, and we really need that. There's a lot of very prohibitionist type of mentality going on sometimes in government, and keeping an eye on that, I tell you, it's going to protect your homebrewing rights. So support the AHA. All right, let's take a short break. When we come back, we will wrap up with we're like way behind. We'll wrap up with Brian and more Trademark after this.
There's an app on the iPhone for just about everything, including beer. Apps for finding a pint of beer. Apps that look like you're drinking a pint of beer. And now, there's an app for brewing a pint of beer. Introducing BrewPal, the most all-inclusive beer brewing app for professionals and hobbyists that fits in your pocket and goes wherever you do. Recipe formulation that can be imported and exported with a customizable database. Mash and sparge calculations, yeast pitching rates, carbonation tables, and more. Available right now for less coin than a pound of grain. See BrewPal in action at brewpal.info and download it for your iPhone at a special introductory price right now. BrewPal, all the brewing software you need, right in your pocket.
Tonight is the night.
We bring the creature to life, Dr. Blickmanstein?
Yes, J.P. Gore. Everything is perfect for my next fermented creation.
But, Doctor, the storm is too far away. We'll never have enough power to isomerize the creature's alpha acid.
Yes, J.P. Gore, we will. For I have in my possession the Tower of Power.
Blickman's new Tower of Power is the evolution of automation. Control hot liquor, sparge, and mash temps like a pro. The Tower of Power is a high-quality gas-fired rim system that works with your current brewing setup. With ultra-precision, the tower can hold your mash to 1/2 of a degree Fahrenheit. Precision and repeatability. The Tower of Power is the answer to automatic, fast ramp times. See more at BlickmanEngineering.com. Bring your next creation to life with the Tower of Power.
Dr. Blickmanstein, with the Tower of Power, you can probably give me an afternoon at the pub to enjoy a pint.
Don't be silly, J.P. Gore. We have beer to brew.
When I order a beer, I want my server to know more about it than I do. I want someone who enjoys good beer and loves helping others enjoy it too. I want someone who knows how to pour a perfect pint for any beer style. I want a Cicerone. The Cicerone certification program is creating the type of people who help you enjoy great beer. Home brewers and craft beer lovers know beer is more flavorful and complex than ever, and it takes some serious knowledge to store and serve beer right. Cicerones know beer. There are 3 levels in the Cicerone program: Certified Beer Server, Certified Cicerone, and Master Cicerone. Cicerones are truly the sommeliers of beer. The best beer locations have a certified Cicerone on staff. Relaxed and unpretentious, Cicerones are tested on storing and serving beer, beer styles, flavor and tasting, the brewing process and ingredients, and pairing food with beer. Learn more about your next beer guide at cicerone.org. Certified Cicerone, because it takes top talent to present a perfect pint.
All right, BN Army, it's trivia time. What's the only homebrew shop with over 1,000 recipe kits, $4.99 shipping on orders over $100, and is also home of the Wolf shirt? The one and only answer is Austin Homebrew Supply. For over 20 years, they've specialized in creating recipes such as the best-selling Texas Blonde Ale, Apocalypso, Hop Bomb 2.0, and Double Chocolate Stout. And they just recently unveiled their small grain kits that produce 1 gallon of beer. Visit AustinHomebrew.com to browse their extensive catalog of equipment and ingredients. They also have mini clone recipes of your favorite commercial beers. They're the exclusive retailer of BrewVent yeast fuel as well, yeast nutrient, and the all-new Bodybuilder. Follow Austin Homebrew Supply on Google Plus to participate in video hangouts on popular brewing topics. So visit AustinHomebrew.com today and make sure you sign up for their weekly email with news and specials. Austin Homebrew Supply, AustinHomebrew.com.
One of the last things many brewers try to master is the ingredient that makes up most of
their beer. Water. Brewers Publications is pleased to announce Water, a comprehensive guide for brewers of all levels by How to Brew author John Palmer and professional brewer Colin Kaminsky.
Hi, I'm John Palmer. This book is the result of many years of asking the tough questions about water to professional brewers and brewing scientists, and we are very pleased with how it turned out. It's the first book that is solely about water treatment throughout the brewing process. The book is intended for all brewers, from homebrewers to professionals, and we hope you like it.
From how to read a water report to treating your wastewater and everything in between, Water is the comprehensive guide you've always wanted on brewing's least understood ingredient, flavor contributions, water chemistry, and adjusting water to styles of beer. John and Colin will teach you everything you need to know. Water is available from brewerspublications.com and fine brewing booksellers near you. Take the mystery out of your brewing water. Visit brewerspublications.com for your copy of Water today.
Williams Brewing is your online resource for prompt delivery of quality home brewing supplies. Since 1979, Williams Brewing has offered the finest equipment and the freshest ingredients, backed by the best customer service in the business. New items include the Big Oxygen Kit for economical wort aeration using common welding oxygen tanks, and the Unistat line of external thermostats for easy control of both electric heaters and refrigerators. In addition, they've just mashed their new oatmeal stout malt extract, so you can make those tasty winter oatmeal stouts and porters without mashing. Go to williamsbrewing.com today and browse their vast selection. That's williamsbrewing.com. Orders placed by 4 p.m. Pacific Time weekdays ship the same day. Brewing is easy, the Williams way.
Downtown Joe's, where everyone is welcome, especially if you like drinking and tasting beer. Head brewer Colin Kaminsky's favorite beers are the Tantric IPA and the Double Secret Probation IPA. But you'll have loads of others to choose from when you redeem your exclusive Brewing Network savings. Downtown Joe's is the best brewery destination and the hottest night spot in Napa. Colin invites all homebrewers and fans of craft beer to stop by and enjoy the great food and beer. Whether you're in the mood for riverside dining, live music, or just hanging out at the bar to meet a person of the opposite sex or a person of the same sex, Downtown Joe's has exactly what you're looking for. And now just mention the Brewing Network to receive $1 off your beer at Downtown Joe's. That's right, take $1 off every one of their great selection of craft beers, including the Lazy Summer Wheat, Golden Thistle Porter, and the Triple Dog Dare You. Come to Downtown Joe's and enjoy the laid-back atmosphere of Napa's best brew pub. Visit downtownjoes.com right now for current beers, the live music schedule, or to drool over their delicious menu items. Downtown Joe's, your neighborhood brew pub where everyone is welcome.
A few things happened 30 years ago.
ARPANET migrated to TCP/IP, and the Internet was born. Revenge of the Jedi was renamed Return of the Jedi and opened in theaters. Mila Kunis and Emily Blunt were born, beginning a rad fantasy in my mind.
But all of that pales next to the fact that HopTech opened its doors and began blowing homebrewers right out of their mash tuns. HopTech doesn't fuck around. Real people shipping awesome shit straight to you. Their new website is fast and easy to navigate. Or just call 800-379-4677 and let badass bitch Jade and Bruin brother Roberto blow their warm load of customer service all over you. So visit the site or visit the store in Dublin, California, and support those that support you. Get your brewing on at hoptech.com.
Back to the beer guys that make other beer guys look like wine guys. Brew Strong.
Which reminds me, you know, John.
Yep.
One of my favorites. One of my most enjoyable things is browsing at adamandeve.com.
Many a diverting hour spent there.
Right. Well, and especially if you use the offer code Jamil, Jamil, at adamandeve.com, you're going to buy yourself one item. You choose one item. They've got thousands, many thousands of items. And, you know, depending on whatever it is you like to do, depending on whoever your partner is, doesn't matter, as long as they're consenting and over 18.
Trademark.
What about a 19-year-old goat?
Right. Well, as long as the goat's
Goats
over,
usually don't
over
live that
18.
long.
Right. as long as your partner's consenting, doesn't matter what, they've got something that will fit the bill.
And even if you don't have a partner.
That's true. Speaking of Scott, even if you don't have a partner, they have a ton of stuff to make it quite enjoyable. So check it out, adamandeve.com. Use the offer code Jamil, Jamil. You're going to get 50% off that Fleshlight. You're going to get 50% off that green Jello.
So that's the only thing you have experience with it.
Yeah, I actually don't know anything else. that dildo, that butt plug, or whatever it might be, that you're going to pick up 50% off on a triple-aught butt plug. And then that's the only thing you're going to pay for. You're going to get yourself 3 free adult DVDs of your choosing. You can choose from categories like anal, amateur,
busty. I don't know why anybody needs any category other than busty.
Well, what if you want anal, amateur, busty, MILFs?
MILFs?
That's there.
Oh,
How come you can't combine them? I don't want to be limited to just one.
Busty lawyers.
I think if you if you find something that is, you find a DVD, check each category, and then you see the same DVD in all those categories, it's got all of that. And I think busty, amateur, big-butted MILFs. I'm thinking that's now you're talking my language.
You should trademark it.
Right? I think we trademark it along with Dick Snifter. And then so you get 3 of those DVDs and for free, and then you're going to get a free extra gift, and then you're going to get free shipping. Like I said, you buy one item at half price, you get all that other stuff for free. Amazing. And I'll tell you the trick here. You go in and you use a different ID each time. You can get yourself a nice, substantial collection for the next time you're either by yourself or with somebody. You got plenty.
So I can get the entire First Time Rump Humpers series that way, like for free.
That is quite a big series, but I think there's like 12 editions in that one.
One of the funniest things I ever saw is First Time Rump Humpers Volume 2.
First time.
Isn't it kind of like the Never Ending Story Part 2? I mean, come on. They're their first time.
It's a new cast.
Yeah, it's like the second time. I don't get it.
All right. So, go check them out, adamandeve.com. They even have a mobile site. Use the offer code Jamil, Jamil. Buy that one item, 50%. You get all that other stuff free. Check them out. Great long-time sponsor. Been with us a long time. Many years.
They love you long time.
They love me. They've loved us a long time. All right. Let's see here. A couple of things. One, John brought up the Evil Twin Brewery. So we had been using Evil Twin here in the U.S., trademark on that. I had come up with the Evil Twin name in relation to beer back in '96 or so, and so we trademarked that. It is our flagship beer.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a great beer.
A brewery in Denmark or wherever, where one guy is a twin of the other, and so he came up with the Evil Twin Brewing Company, and they came to the United States and started wanting to sell in the U.S. Well, you have to defend your trademark. You have to, keep an eye on what's going on in the marketplace. So our first thought was, well, that's fine, but we have to license it to you. We can't just let you do it. We have to give you a license. So we didn't think there would be a confusion necessarily because it's Evil Twin Brewing Company. We asked them to make the word brewing company as big as Evil Twin.
Right. And yet you and I were talking at the break that I had
right, there is
experience I had going to a bar where I had a friend that posted on Facebook, hey, there's Evil Twin at this place. Right. And I get there, and it was good beer, but it wasn't the Heretic Evil Twin that I was looking forward to. It was right when Heretic first opened. It was Evil Twin Brewing Company. So I had actual confusion. That's not unusual for me, but still.
It's unfortunate because I did not want to stop them from doing what they want to do. I don't believe that Trademark is a tool to stop somebody else from pursuing their thing. If somebody came out with an Evil Twin beer and they were just starting out, I'd be like, dude, get away from me. Go choose something else.
Right.
It isn't that important to you. This is a guy who's a twin, who's been running Evil Twin Brewing in his country and been doing his thing. And now he's come to the U.S. It's like, well, that is important to him. That is his brand. That is something that, means something to him. I'm not going to ask him to change that.
Right.
What I want to do is license him. So we gave them a free license to use Evil Twin in the U.S. And we also asked that he not oppose us if we used Evil Twin elsewhere in the world.
Right.
So it was a mutual thing. It was a handshake. It was like, okay.
And you sell elsewhere in the world. You don't sell just in the U.S.
Right.
That's an important thing. That's a key consideration to think of when you're doing any kind of settlement like this. Where do you sell? Where are you going to sell?
Exactly. So here's an instance of where I say, I don't want to stop anybody else. Again, if you're just starting out and you're just coming up with a name and putting it on your website, go away. Just pick another name. Do something else. Here's an example of somebody who would put effort and energy and had a reason for that name. And so I did not want to stop them from using that. I could have said, no, you're screwed. Choose another name in the U.S. But instead, it's like, that's not what I'm about. I would rather, we focus on, I wish there was less confusion. I didn't think it would be confusing, but apparently it's confusing for some people.
Well, it's a good example of how you can work things out, even when they're really close, without having to resort to contentious litigation and spending a lot of money.
The only reason we got an attorney involved was to draw up the license to give them to sign, and
you have to be. It's very important. This is a quick point. A trademark license can be tricky. What they call a naked license, where it's just, use the name, sure, whatever. That'll kill your trademark.
Because then anybody can use it.
Right. Well, you had to be able to have some oversight of their quality, right? Or have some ability
some restriction on it.
Yeah, some restriction. If it's just go do it.
Our restriction was that the name Brewing Company be as large as Evil Twin. Because when they started out, Brewing Company was almost illegible.
I remember those bottles very well.
It just said Evil Twin. And it's like, just make Brewing Company the same font size and we're good. And so that was the restriction. And we were able to tell them, run through your labels, that's fine. But, when you print them again, just make it the larger font.
There's a really good beer store near where I live, and I remember those bottles very distinctly. And right about the time that Heretic started, they came in the U.S. Sheer coincidence, I'm sure. I'm sure it wasn't any. That's the way these things happen, believe it or not, more often than not. I remember thinking, "Gosh, this is Jamil's beer. There's so much of it. There's like 5 different kinds. Evil Twin was no, it's but that was right when you guys opened up." And then I remember seeing the labels before I even knew about any of this stuff. Okay, now it's Evil Twin Brewing Company. Now I understand what's going on.
Right. And I think most consumers, there might be the initial confusion, but again, I think, the craft beer drinker, is much more sophisticated and able to discern, what's going on.
I'm going to realize pretty quick that disco beer isn't Evil Twin.
There you go. Right. So, what's great about that is we're able to work it out. Nobody really paid anything to anybody. We all just kind of, all right, here. We figured it out, and we're able to move forward.
And that's the way you should be able to handle these things.
They do
virtually
their thing,
all
we
the
do
time,
our thing,
even when they're that close.
What I really want to do, Yippa and I, we had talked about doing a collaboration together, and I still want to do that now that we got the new facility open. So hopefully that'll happen.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, and
I'll wait in line for that beer.
I think that's where the kumbaya comes in. But
brewer's code doesn't mean letting someone run over you. Brewer's code means you work it out,
exactly,
and you don't fight each other, but you come to an agreement that everyone can live with, and you go on with your business.
Trademark's not a dirty word. It's just a tool for protecting yourself, so you have a position to stand on when you're working with other people. So they can't, like you're saying, just crush you and you're nothing.
Right.
So you need some way to defend yourself and say, wait, I've been working on this.
Exactly.
Let me exist.
Well, let me pull out another aspect to trademark, and that's our names. I mean, Jamil, you are well known. I'm well known, and it's not inconceivable that someone else in the beer industry would try to use our names to their profit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another aspect of filing a trademark. Like I've filed trademark on my name so that I can control the use of my name.
Yeah, that's an excellent point, John. The reality is, you don't, and people are shocked to hear this, you don't have a constitutional right or any right to use your own name as a trademark. Now, it may be possible for you to do so, but you don't have a right to. It comes down to who does it first. And one of the classic cases...
It's all these freaking John Smiths in the goddamn world.
If you're Jamil Zainashev, right, probably is going to be able to use the name as a unique identifier.
I think I'm pretty protected as the only person in the world with my name.
Yeah, I think so. And frankly, I picked my daughter's name. My wife and I, we picked our daughter's name in part because it was a unique name that no one else on Earth had without us having to make a name up.
You called her USPTO?
No, we used to be as actual real names. We didn't make up weird combinations of letters. But the classic case for this is the Gallo winery. So the Gallo brothers in like the 70s or 80s, Ernest and Julio Gallo had a third brother. They were all heirs of the classic, the patriarch Gallo, who built up the wine industry in Central Valley to be so big. Really dominated the whole jug wine, dominated U.S. wine industry as a whole for so many years. So Ernest and Julio came up with, of course, the wine coolers and all that stuff. Their brother, who didn't want to do wine,
Bob Gallo.
Yeah, Bob Gallo, Chuck or something, decided he wanted to make cheese. Okay, that's cool. We all do what we want to do. And he sold the cheese under his name. It's like
Gallo cheese.
Gallo cheese.
Yeah.
And thus began an epic and really contentious battle, because no battle is more contentious than a family battle,
right,
over the use of the Gallo name. And he
especially
eventually
once
lost.
You have money.
Oh, the worst combination is a family battle when there's money.
Money, yeah.
Because my God, no one will. Yeah, people will. The lawyers, and believe me, I'm a lawyer. I like to get paid. The lawyers love family,
like to work and feed your family,
rich family disputes, because God, it becomes a matter of quote principle, and people will spend infinite money for stuff like that. So
and
it became.
How did he lose?
He lost because he
different class category.
The mark had become what they call famous, right? Something like something like McDonald's, Coca-Cola.
McDonald's, yeah.
Even though Coca-Cola doesn't have any registration for beer, if I wanted to make a Coca-Cola pale ale, right, I'm gonna get creamed, because Coca-Cola is so dominant. Yeah, that's right. There's no way I'm going to win that. And Gallo was such a dominant brand, especially at the time, that he lost the cheese guy and had to go call it something
especially
else.
Since he's part of the family.
Yeah.
It's like it's his name.
But the point is, even if it's your own name and you want to have Smith Brewing Company, and you're really proud of that, I would almost guarantee you somewhere in the U.S. there's a Smith Brewing Company.
Ale Smith.
It's a Samuel Smith.
Right.
I mean, God help you if you're Samuel Smith and you want to start a brewery. I mean, sorry, dude, you lost already. You have to call it something else.
I do think, in the craft beer world, if somebody's using their name and they haven't changed their name, it's like their name for generations, and they want to open like Johnson Brewing Company, then I think most people would just let it go. I think they'd be like, okay.
Yeah, and a compromise that often happens is, I love the Anchorage beers. They're not involved in any trademark dispute. But if you've ever had an Anchorage Brewing Company beer, they have that little teeny picture of the brewer, and his name is kind of on the bottom left of the label. And there's nothing wrong with having a non-trademark use to factually state that, hey, I'm Samuel Smith, and I brewed this beer. Right? You can it's a true fact. You're not using it as a trademark. If you end up calling it something else, you call it a
beer,
whatever kind of beer. You're allowed to truthfully state to use your name, but using it as a trademark is a different matter.
Interesting. Yeah. As a side note, Stone and Heretic and Anchorage Brewing are doing a collaboration.
Awesome.
In 2014.
When will that be available?
2014.
Have you guys figured out what kind of beer it's going to be yet, or
liquid?
Well, awesome, pretty much by definition, because all three of you guys make awesome beer.
It's going to be fun. I'm just thrilled. I don't care what happens. I'm just totally thrilled to go down and hang out. I'm going to go down and hang out at Stone.
It at Stone?
At Stone.
Okay.
It's going to be totally cool.
You're not going to all meet in Fairfield because it's kind of in the middle.
Well, now, Tasty and Mitch and I are going to brew a beer at Heretic.
Damn, dude, I'm going to spend a lot of time at Heretic in the next year. That's going to be great.
Fun. Yeah. I mean, that's not an official
that might be an IPA. I'm guessing.
Three friends getting together. How'd you know? Three friends getting together and then making a beer. So that's nothing. I don't.
Three guys brewing.
Huh?
3 guys brewing.
Yeah, exactly. Well, actually, 3 guys hanging around looking while Chris and Warren make it happen.
Nice. I like that better.
Oh yeah, that's my thing. All right. Any questions from the chat?
Yes, there are a few. Let's get through them quickly. So the first thing is there is a Heretic, the chat says there's a Heretic registered in wine.
Yeah,
is this
absolutely.
a potential issue? What's the deal?
Well, that was the potential issue when we filed for trademark, the potential for confusion between the wine and the beer. And, our attorney, filed the thing that said, look, there's not going to be confusion. First off, beer and wine aren't sold like smack dab in interchangeable bottles. You're looking at, one product that's sold here, one product that's sold there. There a number of other things as to why there would not be a confusion.
You go to Safeway and beer is they're in the same cooler, but maybe beer's at one end and wine's at the other. You're not going to mistake the two.
Wine doesn't even tend to be in the cooler. Yeah. Wine tends to be on the warm shelf. Beer tends to be in the cooler. And also, Heretic is one of the wines a winery makes, and the winery has its own name. And then Heretic is the name of the brewery, not the brands we make. So that was also taken into account, I believe.
It's a good example of the idea of different classes and likelihood of confusion and how you have to argue to get your mark through sometimes.
And where an attorney is quite valuable to you in making... Because if I had done this as an individual, I would have fucked it up and we wouldn't have Heretic as a brewery. So there you go.
Here it is. Yeah, is this at Cypher Winery out of Paso Robles? With the 2009 Heretic, a Petite Syrah?
Well, anyway. Right, I don't think they've made it since 2009 or whatever, so...
Okay, well, here we go. Let's see. There are different groupings in determining distinctiveness. How is this the secondary meaning of descriptive marks determined? Is it better to use arbitrary or fanciful marks as they are less likely to be copied, and have more protection?
Okay, there's a couple of things packed in here. And yeah, there's a hierarchy of marks. So a word you make up, like Google, that's your strongest mark. Because it's something you Xerox.
No, I've seen a Google. I've literally seen a Google hair salon.
Well, good Lord! Like, where is this? Like in Pakistan or something?
No. This is in the U.S.
Really?
Yes. Google hair salon.
Okay.
I'm like, got to be a problem here.
Yeah, Google is so big, they're not going to... It's below their notice to even look at one hair salon at a place.
Right. But, I'm like, that's clearly in violation. Dude, but make up a different name.
What a word you make up from scratch is considered arbitrary or fancy. It's very strong.
Yeah, because it's a word that didn't exist before. You created a word or a phrase or whatever that never existed versus using words Heretic Brewing Company, all that existed before. It's just, an arrangement of words in a brand.
It's very typical in Silicon Valley, and you look at these companies, and you can't tell what they are, what they do, because there's some weird assemblage of consonants or something. Mm-hmm. There's not been a lot of that in craft
Polish
beer.
Surname.
Exactly. But I frankly, I expect we'll see this more maybe in the next 10 years than has been. Mm-hmm. Look at the evolution of blank brewing company, fill in your city, to things that are more like heretic or something. That the word heretic isn't necessarily associated with beer, other than the fact that it's attached to your brewery. Mm-hmm. I think you'll see a trend toward people running into issues, just making up names for their breweries. Yeah. So that's what they consider a strong mark. Now, secondary meaning comes in where you come up, we talked about this before, say a Martinez Brewing Company. Mm-hmm. To be able to make that a trademarkable, a registrable term, you have to show with proof that the public associates that mark with your particular good or service. And that's usually by surveys. So what you might do is 5 years after Martinez Brewing Company is in business, you hire someone to do a survey, and they survey the area, they survey the relevant market, and 75% of people say, "Oh yeah, Martinez Brewing Company means that place that's down on Main Street that has that great beer." That's secondary meaning. But God, you're setting yourself up for expensive and long haul battle if you're going to rely on secondary meaning to get your registration. It's best to avoid that altogether if you can.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what is incontestable status in terms of implications and feasibility of obtaining it?
Well, that's a good question. You have some sophisticated listeners on today. So incontestability means that...
you sound like Palmer, for God's sake.
Yeah, there's some... Could you guys at home hear the sneezing? And I ask that because I can't hear the guys at home. Incontestability means that 5 years after your registration, someone that wants to challenge the validity of your mark can't challenge certain grounds of that. And that has to do primarily with... You can't say, "Oh, that mark's descriptive," or it lacks secondary meaning. It reduces the options that a defendant has to attack your mark. Now, they can still attack your mark on a number of different grounds: that it was fraudulently procured, that it was abandoned, that you've stopped using it. You can still attack the mark, but it does provide it with an additional level of strength. So what will happen is when you come up on your 5-year renewal, the trademark office will essentially send you that email, or you'll log on to the website and you'll see that
or your
option.
Attorney will take care of it for you.
Or better yet, your attorney will take care of that, and they'll essentially check the box for incontestability. I think you may have to pay an extra nominal fee to achieve that status, but it's worth doing.
They always want another $100.
The trademark office will do anything, like the patent office, as long as you pay them. Yes, right. They love to get paid. It's federal government; they like to get paid.
Does legal action on trademarks usually just result in an injunction against use, or are monetary settlements common?
Most legal action ends up settling.
Did you submit all these questions yourself?
No, these are all Spider Wrangler.
Wow.
He did his research.
Jesus Christ, that guy
He's on it.
He is a value and a treasure to the show.
He really is. I got to start listening live more often and contributing like this guy does. He's always got the good questions.
He's got he's like Googling something. I don't know.
Spider's the man.
Yeah.
Damn.
So most legal action in reality ends up settling. You don't want to go through trial. If you go through a trial, you're ponying up $50 to $100K just to sit down at the table. Mm-hmm. And a small business doesn't have $50 to $100K to screw around with trademark litigation. That's
why I'm telling you, the small business tool is I'm representing.
Telephone? Yes, exactly. I'm representing and the telephone.
And the telephone.
Those are good tools. So if you go through litigation, usually the winning party can get an injunction. It's possible to get money damages. Usually you don't get money damages so much in trademark cases unless there's really bad faith on somebody's part.
Do you have to prove that it cost you a certain number of sales, or that it's because I guess so Dick's Snifter is a fine craft beer. Somebody else comes out with a crappy craft beer, and people taste it and they think it's horrible, so they won't buy Dick's Snifter. I have to prove that I lost X number of potential sales, or
you make that argument.
Damage.
Damages are really flexible as far as what you ask for and what you can prove.
There's no limitation to them, or
no, but there's other than kind of the reality, just reality and what the judge is willing to grant. And in most trademark cases, primarily it's an injunction, and that's why it's almost always that and the cost. You're not going to go into this suit and come out with pockets full of money 99% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you find that smoking gun email where Miller Coors has
we're going to screw them into the ground.
I can't wait until we can call all of our beers heretic because we're going to make $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, $1 billion. Absent that, it's going to be really hard to get money damages.
Okay, one last one. If agreements are made outside of a courtroom, then what can one do to make sure they are well documented and held to?
Get an attorney to write it down for you.
Yes.
The few $100 you're going to spend is well worth it. You're not, if your brand doesn't mean anything to you, then do it. By all means, do it yourself, or Google it and, copy and paste. Absolutely. But if your brand is worth more than a few $100, I suggest an attorney.
Yeah.
Well,
write it down, sign it. Part of another aspect, unless the settlement itself is confidential, I was going to mention earlier, social media is really an important tool, whether you're a plaintiff or a defendant. Tell your honest, true story. Don't spin it. Don't.
Oh, that's the problem. Is people are like, oh my God, I'm getting screwed. So a number of people
that can happen.
So let me tell you a little story. So, somebody who was not selling any beer, who was like, a home brewer thinking that they're going to make a beer using our name and post it on their website, and then you call them up and you're just like, is this important to you? And they're like, oh no, I haven't even made the beer. It's like, okay, would you mind calling it something else? Oh, no problem. The story later on is, I got a letter from their attorney telling me that to cease and desist or they'd sue me and all that. Truthfully, that's what happened. And so other people have heard the story of how we're going to a letter. My attorney has not sent out any letters.
Right.
And we have not threatened to sue anybody. And that's the story that comes up.
Now,
from a home brewer who was, thought that they could use the name and do well, and then,
And that's an outright lie. Most people won't outright lie, or at least some won't. But
some will.
But they will. But they will see. They'll see it through their filter.
Exactly.
So it is the truth as far as they're concerned.
Exactly. Yeah. And they'll get on social media and they'll do all that and do damage to you when it is totally false.
And it's a little bit
and
different
you have
topic.
No defense.
But social media is your own social media. You just stay transparent. Don't get distracted by that stuff. And a thing to do is possibly, if you want to be able to shame the other party, take your agreement, as long as the agreement itself is not confidential, post that to your that to the company Facebook page. Hey, you know what? Here's we've all agreed we're cool.
Here's your problem. If you call somebody up on the phone, there's no record of that.
No, there's not.
Right. You say, hey, what's the deal? Is this important to you? And they're like, oh, no, I haven't even brewed the beer. Would you document that?
This is why.
Actually, what I've asked everybody that I've called, I've said, would you mind sending me an email saying that you have no need for that, and everything's cool and all that.
It's a good idea.
And then they do, and then I figured, well, that's good enough. But then the story comes back later on. They've talked to other people. They're not posting it anymore, but they talk to other people. Oh yeah, they threatened to sue me. It's like, what?
The sad thing is there's no defense against crazy.
Yeah. There you go.
That's sadly the reality of crazy, is you really can't do a lot about it.
Yep. So much when you're dealing in trademarks or dating people. There's always the psycho person that you meet in the bar, and then you realize that you've gotten yourself in far more trouble than you ever imagined.
Boiling rabbits and stuff.
Oh, yeah. that is all it was, that would be wonderful. All right, excellent show. Brian, what are you doing? Are you still working corporate, or you get your own practice?
Yeah, so Brian Schar, I'm working at a company, so I haven't been in private practice for many years. I just kind of prefer that I like being close to the technical people, like not having to worry about billable hours, kind of always the concern if you're in private practice is, gosh, where are my clients? Where are they coming from? How many hours am I billing?
Well, and that whole thing of, attorneys are just trying to screw people by, billing hours and things like that. I'm sure you don't want to. You're not the type of person that wants to deal with that.
I don't want to mess with that.
You want to use your mind, and you want to work hard, and you want to, be part of a solution. I know you.
Exactly.
I've known you for a number of years, and so
thank you.
I know that's just that's why I could never do it. I'm not in. I can't sell anything. I can't.
Says a man who's selling beer for a living.
Yeah. And it just sucks. I mean, I want to brew beer.
That's got to be the hard part.
I want to sit on the couch. That's it.
Yeah. That's why
I have salespeople.
I'm a local home brewer, Words of Wisdom. I'll give them a big shout out.
There you go.
Down in the Silicon Valley. So we make good Silicon Valley beer, and definitely a part of the whole Bay Area brewing scene. Susie is one of our members. She's our president.
Is she really?
She's our president.
She has large breasts, and that's why.
She's been.
I'm just saying.
It's more just because she's awesome. And she's been our president for about a year.
Because she has large breasts.
Why do you think she's awesome? Yeah.
Because she gets stuff done. She's like our den mother.
Oh, please. Yeah. Mother. Yeah. Yeah. Breastfeeding. I'm just saying. It just seems obvious to me. No, I felt
God love
made
that
Brian
Susie.
feel bad. No.
I'm smiling. No, Susie, you'll be seeing Susie probably before I do. So if she's gonna kick anybody's ass, it'll be yours, not mine.
Won't be mine. I won't be here.
Yeah, there you
Sunday
go.
session
It'll be me.
Get their balls kicked.
Moscow is going to be taking the brunt of that.
Yeah, and it'll be fun, I suspect.
No. Well, thank you so much for spending the time and doing all this.
Thank you for having me. It's been a real blast. Been a
really interesting show.
Very educational. I think we went 2 hours in a 1 hour
Good
show
Lord.
to do it. So you had nowhere to run, but
I sat by the door to make sure these guys couldn't get out.
No, I think it's very educational and very valuable to our listeners. And if you like this sort of thing, I would suggest very strongly that you go to BlickmanEngineering.com, check out their stuff, send them an email, tell them you appreciate that they paid for the show so you could listen to it for free. And if you feel even more guilty, check out the Brewing Network store. Go to thebrewingnetwork.com/store. There's thongs, there's dildos, there's...
no, that's the wrong spot.
Oh, okay. All right. That's AdamandEve.com.
Yeah.
There's thongs, there's growlers.
There you go.
There's growlers, there's hoodies, there's books, there's all sorts of good stuff. And when you buy this stuff, it goes to the bottom line of the Brewing Network and really helps stuff like this keep going. And you can sign up for things like the AHA. You sign up for thebrewingnetwork.com. The Brewing Network gets a small slice of that, and you get great things going on in your homebrew community. Until then, brew strong, everybody.
Brew strong.